Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another one of our weekly guided reflection sessions where we're going to take about 40 to 50 minutes out of our day to simply just think more intentionally about our own life. And by answering some simple questions that I'll pose, it will help increase our awareness of what's going on in our life, in our world, and how can we be more precise in the actions we take moving forward in the direction we want to go. Let's start this session the way we always do, and that's 5 minutes of breathing. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. Starting now. And all we're going to do is just sit up straight and just breathe in and breathe out. Something so simple, so basic and fundamental to us as human beings. Just breathing. And we want to focus on the breath. If thoughts come on our mind, just let them pass. It's not important right now. Just breathe in and out. All right. So that was 5 minutes. How are we feeling? Feel good? I feel good. Let's begin. Take out a piece of paper, or if you have a notebook, I like to use my journal here. If you're just listening and it helps to just kind of think about it, that's helpful too. If you want to type out your answers on a computer, that's fine. As long as we're being conscious of the questions, our life, and our answers, everything kind of suffices. I kind of do a blend of typing notes and writing notes. It all depends. So we're going to start with the same question we always do, and that's, what are we grateful for? Start here, and patience, and life will provide us treasures through time. There's so much to be grateful for. You know, write a list of a few things, or if you want to focus on just one, that's helpful too. And kind of like dig deeper on that one. So, what are we grateful for? Great question. Not original, but very effective. And that's okay. Things don't always have to be new. You know what I mean? We're about effectiveness and usefulness. And that always doesn't have to be some new thing, you know? What are we grateful for? The next question. Imagine your ideal morning. You're going to have the best day ever. What does that morning look like? You know, what is that morning comprised of? What are all the kind of atoms that make it into a whole? You know, what break down, compartmentalize, what does that morning look like? Deconstruct it and build it. What's your ideal morning like? This could be anything. There's no wrong answers. That's what's so great about stuff like this is you're able to think individually about ourself. I think too often we look at what other people do and try to copy it. And there's some degree of merit to that. But we don't have to do word for word kind of or step by step what other people do. We want to think about our own self and our life and what we enjoy and what would be ideal for us and do it that way. We can pick and choose and borrow from other sources, but you know, the goal of this is to become more self-aware and more precise in who we are and how we want to live. And that requires us to actually do some, mental, not gymnastics, but we have to be thoughtful. We have to put effort into it and think about ourselves. So what does that morning, that ideal morning look like for you? And then tomorrow, try it out. Carve out time and see what happens. and then kind of evaluate, observe the results, how you feel after doing it for a day. And then try to create a streak of doing it repetitively, consistently. That's how you kind of build a habit, a routine. Start one day, and then do it the next day, and the next day, and then the next day. And do it like that. And with any habit, you got to carve time for it and make effort. No one is going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. And there are always excuses. And, it might be harder for other people just with different life circumstances, but this is your life. So your life is going to reflect the time and effort and thoughtfulness that you put in. This session, I want to, I was writing up some questions for upcoming podcast guest this morning. I'm on the farm here, but I was by the pond, and I was sitting in my farm chair that I built. It's pretty great. Just like overlooking in the morning, you're watching the sun come up, and the sun's kind of on your face. Magical. But I was coming up with some questions, and I was like, you know what? When we record our weekly guided reflection session later, we should ask some of these. I was like, dang, these are some good questions. Okay, this one's more specific to the person. Let's go with, pick something that interests you, a subject. What in particular, I want you to deconstruct it, and what are other aspects, like adjacent aspects of this interest that provoke your curiosity in a way? So this individual is interested in urban planning and public transportation. So while he is really interested in public transportation, in different cities and public transportation, what's another aspect about urban planning that interests him, So think about something you're into, and then think about the bigger, and then other kind of adjacent interests. So what's something we're interested in? Zoom out, and then what's an adjacent interest to that? It's kind of fun about life is you can just keep being interested in different things. There's so many things to be interested in. Pick some. and pursue that learning and that curiosity. But pick one or a few. Don't let the abundance of possible interests overwhelm you. Like going to a grocery store and going in the toothpaste aisle and then seeing all the different options and all the things that this particular toothpaste can do compared to the other ones. And you find yourself standing there for 5 minutes trying to make a decision about toothpaste. Don't let that happen to you with interests in the world and in your life. Think of some, pick some, move forward. That's another thing. Like last time we were discussing foods throughout history and like feasts, and what was the delicacy then, and the food wasn't processed as much. So was it healthier, or was it, fruits? Were those the gems? And now with sugars, we can create a lot of good tasting things. Like toothpaste. When did that become a thing? The internet has that answer, I'm sure. All right, what's something you've learned in the past 2 years that has been impactful on you still today? What's something we've learned in the last 2 years that we still kind of have in our life, we use? Yeah. Always learning, but I think with this question, we want to be conscious about things we have learned. Because we could be learning something every single day. Whether it's a process to do something, just random knowledge as well. I'm not as good about that, like retaining little bits of information. It's just not really how my mind works. Mine are more like big puzzle pieces. And then if I need to look something up, Google's always there. Changed nets this morning. On the farm, we got a shed and an old basketball hoop. The basketball hoop I spend most of my time on is on a barn, my like childhood hoop that I use all the time. But there's also a shed basketball hoop that when I was like under 10, I was using, and the net is all like rotted out and green and like algae looking, stiff. So I replaced it this morning, and I used certain tools and learned about those tools and that process. Took up a ladder, cut down the net like we won a championship. and put up a new one. Bright, white, and flexible, not stiff or rigid. So now I have more options playing basketball. It's remarkable too. Like I was up there by the rim. It's a pretty large circumference to shoot a basketball through. So I'm kind of, it's like when you see it up close, because I don't dunk often, if you can believe that or not. When you're really up there, you can see how big the circle is. And you think, wow, this is just geometry. You just got to get this smaller ball through this big hole. Come on. It's kind of easy. So that's something I did today. Helped someone move some wood planks, some oak planks. They're going to create a dining room table eventually. And they needed help from their truck to another spot to dry out. Oak is like, that's the best wood, in my opinion. Someone who's in the Midwest, oak trees. Oak trees are number one. Second favorite, palm trees. I love palm trees. They're not here in the Midwest. That's why I appreciate them. I go somewhere with palm trees. It's just like vacation. Warm weather. To me, palm trees are magical. But yeah, oak trees, great wood. But you can learn something new every single day. And for this question, I just wanted you to think about more consciously about something kind of big that you've learned in the past 2 years and how it's still relevant to you today, even. Application of learning. This next question, think about tangibility. Being up on the farm compared to living in Chicago, things are so much more tangible. And what I mean by that is like the things I do on a daily basis are so much more tangible than in Chicago. Like doing stuff. So we changed the net on a basketball hoop today. We helped someone physically move. We moved physical things from here to there, right? Cutting the grass, it's like a tangible thing. Building a farm chair is a tangible thing. Chopping down a tree is a tangible thing. Fixing equipment that broke is a tangible thing. Planting a garden and then harvesting the fruits of it and cooking it for lunch and dinner is a tangible thing. Like this, the production of it. What's something tangible in your life that you experience and that you interact with? And how is that different from intangible things? On a computer, I often say that when I am talking with friends is that video editing is sometimes the most tangible thing I do. So you record something and then you edit it and then you process it and then you have a file at the end, right? But it's tangible in a digital sense, but not necessarily in a physical sense. But at the same time, I do so much writing that it doesn't feel tangible. It's always like towards something beyond. And especially like writing fiction, just writing it like chunks at a time, it doesn't quite feel tangible. And especially until you like hold the physical book, it doesn't seem too tangible. So to be on the farm, and like everything, so much of things I do is very concrete and very tangible. Putting stakes in the garden and zip tying them to some metal rings for the tomatoes. It's like something was like this before, and then you do something, and then there's like a tangible result. I've really observed and noticed that living on the farm. However, the tangible things aren't long lasting. That's the thing, is like tangible things often aren't lasting the way some of the digital things are more lasting, it seems like. They're more long-term and like assets rather than physical things. There are always like more physical things you can always be doing. And when you complete it, it feels great. Oh, here's the tangible result from doing that. But then it's like another thing and another thing and another thing. So it's just something I've observed on the farm. So what's something tangible in your own life? Yep. I'm definitely pro intangible. Possessing intangible qualities. I definitely lean intangible. Things that can't be measured quite. But yeah, how many of you are writing physically, versus digitally? And doing these reflections digitally versus physically. Physically, you end up with a notebook full of writings, but intangible, you don't really have, it's a little different. I've been doing, every day I put notes and observations on my website, richhebron.com, and I used to write them in these memo pads. I don't know if I have. Yeah, here's two. So I'd write them in these memo pads. But then it's like, one, I have to have them on me to then transfer digitally. It's like another step in the process. And I don't always have it on me. And I've been noticing the last month I've been doing it digitally, and it's been more efficient. But I like when I think long term, these are going to be more valuable with like handwriting and dates and stuff like that. It's just a little bit more impactful. But it's easier digitally, so that's something on my mind. The best thing to do would be to do it physically and then make a habit out of like one day a week, just transferring it digitally. Like scheduling process days. I'm all about that. Doing specific things on specific days, so it becomes automatic. Like recording these weekly reflection sessions, I do it on the same day. I record it on the same day every week. All right, we've asked this question before, but I think it's a great one, so we can think again about it. What's something we're proud of in the last 2 years? with ourselves, what is something we're proud of over the last 2 years? 2 years. Maybe we don't ask that enough with ourselves is, what in our life are we proud of, energized that we did. And I think we're more prone to think about negative things and so many other thoughts in our head that we don't take the time to appreciate the things we've done and experiences we've had enough. What we want to do is frame our mind to filter more positive, right? Look at everything with a positive lens rather than a negative lens or a confusing one where we are weighed down by so many thoughts on our mind. We want to stay positive. Good attitude and positivity every day. And it can be hard a lot of times, but that's where the gratitude comes into play. If we notice at the beginning of our day that our mind starts drifting, or we're feeling down, or we have thoughts of negativity about ourselves or about things we have to be doing, we can stop and go back, look at the sun, be grateful that it's another day, observe nature a bit. Stuff like that can ground us. Breathing, right? Like these exercises we do every week at the beginning. You don't have to take 5 minutes. You could take 1 minute. Just breathe intentionally. Think of something funny, like humor. I was at a show. Some friends of mine are in a band that tours the world. They're quite big, and they had this 2-night sold out show in Chicago. Sold out shows, and one of the shows I'm in the green room, and my friend, is being introduced to all these fans that pay VIP passes, and you're around executives and stuff like that. I pull him aside for a quick moment. I'm like, hey, what goes through your mind when all of this is happening? And he paused. He said, breathing and a sense of humor. And that really struck me, because there are so many things he could have said. But breathing and a sense of humor. I have not forgot that. Breathe. Relax. Right? Just smile. Think about... I often think about the vastness of the world and the universe and our insignificance in it, and that we're only here for a short time. And when we're more ego-driven, we're thinking about ourself and ourself as the world and everything kind of revolving around us. So we take everything that happens in a more personal way and how it affects us, rather than the opposite, which is observing what's happening and how you're included in the bigger overall kind of interconnectedness, cosmos of everything. And you just have a better sense of humor that way. It's not real. It's very... I don't know, ever changing. You're just excited to be a part of it all. Breathing and a sense of humor. Yeah. Nothing quite kills morale as easily as someone without a sense of humor. If you have a sense of humor, if people have a sense of humor, it's like you can get through a lot of things together. I mean, even living in a homeless shelter. When people think about homelessness and living in a homeless shelter, humor and funny aren't words that come to mind right away for most people, I would think. But living in a homeless shelter, it's human beings. And humans love to tell stories. Humans love to laugh. Humans can find humor in anything. And it builds more of a community sense of uplifts morale. And what it really does is reduce the weight of something, right? Telling jokes and laughing while in a homeless shelter reduces the weight of the fact that we're experiencing homelessness and we're in a shelter, you know? So it's all kind of part and connected with the mind. So a sense of humor, like backstage in the green room with my friend, it reduces the weight of, this is a big deal. This is a big thing. It's like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like, it almost becomes just again, like kind of not real. And it can be a lot more beautiful. Less heavy, more light. All right, what's a song that you've been listening to on repeat recently? So what's a song we've been listening to on repeat lately? How do you listen to music? I do Spotify. I pay for premium. And to me, it's so worthwhile. It's one of those things that creates so much use for me or so much value in my life. Having access to all that music immediately. What a baffling thing to have access to practically every recorded song in the last 100 years or so. Probably from the 40s. Certainly the 50s. But that's incredible, and I find a lot of value in it, and so I interact with Spotify daily. But there are other things too. Amazon Music. Is Pandora still popular? That was really big in 2011, 2012, 2013. YouTube Music. Does Google have music? Oh, iMusic or Apple Music. Yeah, what song's been on repeat? You can tell a lot about a person with the music they listen to. Sometimes, when I lived in Chicago, I went to so many music shows of performers that I wasn't necessarily interested in. I like observing the demographics of who goes to music shows of a particular band or performer. The last two that I really, really enjoyed, well, the most recent one was Louis Offman, this like French producer, performer. I like his music a lot. Miami Horror is probably my favorite, and they're putting out a new album. First since like 2015. So I'm very, very energized for that. But I'll go to a lot of shows just to learn more about people. I think there's such a big connection between people and music. And the music is a way to kind of summarize the people that listen to it in a way. You go to a show, everybody's kind of dressing the same, everybody kind of moves the same, everybody just kind of interacts the same. And as someone from the outside, you can get a really good picture of, okay, like, oh, this age is a fan of this music. This is how they dress. Oh, and then you get to deeper and deeper with that onion, and it's like, okay, this is how these people think based on the lyrics of the bands that they're excited to see. You can learn so much by just going to music shows. And then you go to a show that you are interested in and energized for, and you look around and you're like, wow, everybody's like me. So there's this deep connection, and it brings people together who are kind of like-minded, and I've really grown to observe that, and I think it's fascinating. So oftentimes I go with friends, or I'll go alone and just check stuff out. It's interesting. So the song you have on repeat is really like almost like an anthem of your life at the moment. All right, what are we curious about recently? We always ask this every week. I love the question. I think it's really important that we pursue our curiosity. I'm sure there's levels of our curiosity, like a big one that we're kind of a theme that we're thinking about for the last few months, and then there's one where, weekly it pops in our head, like, oh, that's interesting. I'm curious about that. But I think that's important. We learn a lot about ourselves through our curiosity and pursuing our curiosity. And then when you look back, you can really see the pattern of the adventure or the journey in a way where you take one kind of seed of curiosity and it creates this whole tree and branch of your life and your experiences and who you interact with. And nothing is coincidence. And our presence, our life in the present moment is a reflection of all these different decisions, right? Well, a lot of those decisions are influenced by our curiosity. And it's a beautiful thing. It can be. It might not always be. And then this last question, what are we energized for over the next 3 months? We always ask about next week. What are we energized for next week? But this time, let's do what are we energized for in the next 3 months? And this is very open-ended. It doesn't have to be a big personal thing of a milestone or something really big in our life. It could be as simple as, I'm looking forward to this holiday. Well, then let's deconstruct that. Why? Well, we're around family and, this sport is going on and we're going to eat this kind of food. I'm just, the colors of the trees are this way and the weather is this way, just stuff like that. It can be anything. It can be big or small. It's all about what weight we give things that determine our perspective on them and how much impact they have on us and how much we learn from it and how much we grow from it. The weight of things. And as we do this and continue to train our mind, we can take really big things and make them very light, so it's not a big deal. Things are neither big nor small, they just are, and we approach them and then take those steps. So, if we're dreading something coming up, well, why is that? Well, it's because we've been putting so much weight on it that it feels like so much, right? It feels like taking on an elephant. Really, we want to, in our minds, just deconstruct things so that we're just taking small steps and every step is light, It could be in the direction of this huge thing, but we're just taking one step at a time, and that step is light. Everything has to do with the mind, and we want to be mindful of just life and the actions we take so that these actions lead to something greater, something we dream, something that fulfills us and allows us to reflect back in these proud moments. Follow our energy, and think about what we're having fun doing and experiencing and kind of follow that. Again, that's that curiosity, but it's also matching it with energy and emotions, feelings, right? That's important. Yeah, life. We don't want life to feel heavy, like it's weighing us down, and every step we take feels so heavy, and everything on our mind is so burdensome. We want to kind of dance through life, and it's easier to do that when we do take these small steps, and we do take these actions of setting time aside and asking these simple questions and putting thought and effort into it. So thank you again for being here. I've enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn from it, you grow, and you use it. So thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Inspire the future.